All right, you asked me if there was any final improvements. That implies that you feel like the project is done and you're wrapping it up. Um, and I'm glad you asked because there is a lot we need to do to this. But, it goes back to basic things that you already understand, like the 24 principles of typography, errors to avoid that we learned at the very beginning of the course. One of the things we learn from the very beginning of the course is if type is ever in a box, you don't let the type touch the edge of the box. So when we put pink right here for the editor's note in the background, and we have the body copy touching that edge, that's basically a box, and the type is basically touching the edge of the box. So, one of the things I guess we could review is this checklist, right? And this checklist encourage you to go over these things. So I don't think you've followed the checklist, because the checklist at the very end says review your final document against the 24 most common type errors. So let's point out that one of the errors that can be improved here is your type is touching the edge of the box. You're doing it here, you're doing it right there. How can you fix it? Well, you could have there's no reason to have the pink stop at the margin. You could have the pink go up to the edge of the page. That would be perfectly all right. The leading right here, I would tighten that. That feels pretty tight. Okay. The table of contents, like with all of your material, I'm really glad that you've got the correct material and you put it in design and you put it in order. Good job. But this text is way too big. I'm not sure what the point size is, something like 15 or something. But often this is treated like body copy, so it really only needs to be 9 or 10. And there's no differentiation between title or author. There is differentiation between the page, but some people are not going to be able to understand that just by seeing the number what that is. So you normally just put one number there, meaning it's on page 5, it's on page 7, or it starts on page 7, starts on page 13. I'm glad you got the @ symbol written up. Good job. But this basically looks like part of the table of contents in the way it's presented. So we might want to differentiate it, maybe because there's an @ symbol over here, maybe, making a small column right there would be a good spot. All right, if we go here, one of the concerns we have that we've expressed through the class from time to time is not setting up a boxing match. That is, a contest between two pages that look nearly identical. And so your eye, when you're presented with two things that are nearly identical, you don't know whether to look at the left or to the right. They're just exactly the same. And here, that generally falls into that category. You got the same kind of title, same drop cap, same ampersand or @ symbol at the bottom. So that's kind of a strange thought. And I'm glad you have a stepping stone for your secondary articles, but do know that stepping stones are optional for secondary articles. Something this dramatic would normally belong to a main article. Again, we have that issue of type in a box right here, and we're getting into another of the 24 common type errors by having the type not only touch both sides of the box, but go past 72 characters. So, I don't know. Here's the 24 standards that you can download from the website on the resources page, and you can see that if you're going around 40, you're too short. If you go, past 80. You're getting too long. So yours are going into the too wide category. You want more of this ideal range, something between 45 and 75 characters, something like that, 72 max. All right, so that's something to consider. We could break that into columns, and of course, you've already got a paragraph style or character style for body copy. You could turn that into a paragraph style and tell it to split into 2 columns, and voila, you'd be done. You might even have it, because this looks like it's split into a column here, which makes me confused why this one's not at the top. Okay. Right. Here we have title, subtitle. I appreciate the hierarchy that's there. Good. The stepping stone that's here. Good. But it does start strained. I mean, it still has this, the line length is still too long. It's still over 72 characters. Do know that the opening paragraph can be bigger type, so you could avoid that. You could just make all the text from the word writing all the way to theirs be larger, and then you'd have less characters per line, down to something normal between, I'd say, around 70. Then it breaks into, you need a gap right there, so you could break into columns. This one is very odd. Why does it have a drop cap, and why does that drop cap so far pushed in? So here's another type error. We want our indents to be 2 M's, and these are more like 1/2 inch indents. Overall, I find there's too much text on the page, on the spread, for an intro paragraph. Here's one example of something that you could consider. Well, look at the amount of negative space. Notice they have 1, 2, 3 paragraphs. That's it. And then they let the rest of it be on another page, and even on another. So they have 3 spreads. You don't have to do that, but this is an awful lot of type, and it's kind of odd how it cascades down. I'd look more for an alignment between the 2 sides. Okay, keep going. And look how empty this feels. So, it would really help your layout if you had some text over here. And by this way, right here, this part right here is technically an orphan, which is another typographic error that you want to avoid. Over here, you have this really strange, body copy here, okay. This one I would also, since it's a main article, break it into title, subtitle. So it feels started, but it doesn't feel finished in any way. Again, type feels like it's in a box. Type is touching the edge of the box. Again, line length is way too long. It should be 2 columns, particularly for this, and this. This first one could be 1 very wide column, provided the typeface is bigger for the opening paragraph. You have it correct here, it's 9 or 10, here it's 9 or 10, here. That's all right, but the open paragraph, if it's going to be from left side to right side, should be a larger point size. And the references actually go with not this article, but this one. So I would just move your references over here. You don't need a whole spread for them. And right now they feel like they're connected to this article, which are not. Okay, so there's some ideas. One last one. You may want to, you're using this symbol, the @ symbol, it's a very good choice. You may want to treat it in such a way by making it into an outline, no longer type, so it can push your body copy around like this. So, the type will follow the flow of that, respond to the flow, work with the curve. That's a good way to blend it in, stuff like that. All right. Another typographic error that you may want to look for is, widows, and that kind of feels like a widow because it's Tory, a split of the word history. Technically, I guess it's not because you still have the 7 here. So I would go look through widows and orphans. Your line length or your leading is changing here. Look at how the leading is tight, 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 and then open. What happened to this last line? It has a different leading than all the stuff above it and all the stuff below. African American community, it looks like there's this gap here, but looks like there might be an extra return right there. So, once again, the checklist is a great tool. You can save yourself a lot of time. You don't have to wait on me, because the information I'm giving you right now is basically just following these kind of recommendations. So you've completed the concept sheet. Good job. You're familiar with the material now. Good. I hope you've made basic changes to the margins and number of columns. I'm not sure if you're working with layers, but I encourage you to work with layers. Update page files. Okay. Yes, you've added more pages, so you've done that. Good. You add all text to the document. You did that. Good. Creating character styles. I see there's some character styles here, and probably some paragraph styles. I'm not sure how much they're being used. So glad you got those. Yeah, you can go through these, correcting the tabs. Don't indent the first paragraph. You haven't done that. Good job. The secondary articles do look a little important compared to the main, but they're still survivable. Let's see. And then, yeah, really, you need to just go through this document and say, okay, what are all these type errors, and how could I be, what could I be doing would be causing problems and stuff like that. So, you wanted some suggestions before you turned it in. There you go. You got a lot. I hope you find that helpful, and I hope you have a good day.